He is the Community Engagement and Outreach Coordinator for the Minaratain Center, which is the Education City Mosque building at Qatar Foundation. He completed his Master of Arts degree in Public Policy and Islam from the College of Islamic Studies at Hamad bin Khalifa University. He has a bachelor's degree with a double major in international relations and Middle Eastern studies, and he also has an advanced Arabic studies certificate. Over the past decade, Sulaiman's career as a young professional has spanned different fields, from international development to international education, and from cross-cultural communication to youth leadership and faith-based community transformation. Sulaiman has strong geopolitical and cultural experience working and living in the Middle East and Africa, and as someone who believes in lifelong learning, he is fluent in 5 languages, mashallah. Sulaiman's core skill areas are working on community and youth development programming, ethical leadership, and environmental stewardship. He also has participated in numerous volunteer overseas programs and delivered workshops in Bosnia, Iraq, Nepal, Cambodia, and Bangladesh. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. I'm already inspired just by his bio. So without further ado, please, Sulaiman, the floor is yours. Tell us about Remasking Our Communities.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Wa alaikum assalam.
Okay, let me turn on my video as well. Doing this from home, it's interesting because my comfort zone would have been to be in front of all of you. And can you see me?
I think Dr. Evren will pin you now. I only see a black screen, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. It looks like something's covering the camera. There we go. Now we see you. Okay, and you are pinned, so everyone should be able to see you now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and most merciful, and we ask Allah to send the best blessings and prayers upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Ramadan Mubarak to all of you, each and every one of you, all of your loved ones near and far. And this is a great honor for me. It's an honor when a former professor of yours invites you and thinks you have something worthwhile to say. First of all, it means that you were not a lot of problems for him in class, and second of all, it means that, that you left an impression and they somehow either remember you or, I am the person that I am today because of a lot of the things that I did learn from Dr. Ervin and from my other professors at Hamad bin Khalifa University. So proud alum. With that said, I want to kind of maybe put a little disclaimer out there, just because when you introduced me, you mentioned the Education City Mosque, because one of the things that I've seen the most with my neighbors as well, it's like, oh yeah, where do you work? I work at the Education City Mosque. They're like, so I'm like, no. Then I'm like, no. So the first part is, so you're the imam? And I'm like, no. Then are you the muaddin? And I say, no. So I'm not the imam and I'm not the muaddin. So this is not a scholar's talk. I am not a scholar of Islam, and I'm just facilitating discussion based on my experiences, especially because I'm very fortunate to be working in a mosque. The second thing is I have no experience in or expertise in the Quranic Arabic, or Hafid of the Quran. So I have made mistakes, I will make mistakes, and I'll continue to make mistakes. And hopefully there'll be at the end time for questions, clarifications, comments, and and corrections, of course. So the second thing is, like I said, I'm going to be sharing some experiences. So I'm not going to be talking too much into details, because I think in this day and age, we are bombarded with information. You can all go find the most accurate percentages if you want it right now. So as they say, details tell, but stories sell. So I'm here to kind of tell you or sell you stories, hopefully, inshallah. So that's what we're going to do. The first thing is I'm going to try to share with you a presentation. I really am not the presentation type. Like I said, I would like to engage more and discuss more, but maybe there are a couple of things that we could highlight with a couple of images or maybe a few bullet points for those people who are visual learners. And I want to take that into consideration. But I do apologize. I'm not your millennial, so I don't have all these data visualization gimmicks, and I don't really know how to do all of those things. But like I said, I can try to at least tell a story with some of what I'm going to show you. Let me share my screen. Can I share my screen with the presentation, or did you guys not have presentations shared by speakers in the 2 previous editions?
Go ahead,
Y-
dear
yeah,
Sulaiman.
that's fine. You're a co-host, so you should be able to have the the option.
Okay, perfect. So like I said, just really quickly to kind of share a couple of things, maybe, and then we can actually stop. So how do I do the share the screen part? That is interesting.
At the bottom, you'll see share screen.
It says breakout rooms right now, participants chat, reactions. I don't think I have the share screens
Hmm.
um, option.
Uh,
Oh, okay, I do see it. Share screen.
okay,
Sorry, I
there
take
we
that back.
go.
Okay, so so if I go to share screen, right
Yeah, you
there.
have options. So if you want to share your entire screen, that's an option. Or what I would recommend is if you're using like PowerPoint,
Yeah,
then you share PowerPoint specifically.
just the PowerPoint. That's what I'm trying to. It says screen sharing has failed.
Oh, that's weird.
Okay, one moment, please. Let me try it one more time. It says please try again later. Okay, I'm going to X out of this and I will try one more time. If not, then I'll go to my preferred method of just, um, sharing stories. Okay.
You can
Yes.
also share. Oh, there we go. It's working.
Okay, perfect. Alhamdulillah. Okay. So, okay. Pardon the novice. Okay, so here really quickly, we're talking about this summit here, which I want to start by saying it's a very timely topic. First of all, not just because we're in Ramadan, but because of this era that we're living in, and a very the theme, the ta'aruf, ta'awun, tarahum, very very relevant theme. But I want to then say, I think there's another theme that's much more relevant right now, and we've all noticed it. And I say we, it means I'm including myself. We've realized during the past 2 years that we've had Ramadan last year and this year with the lockdowns, the importance, the role, the value, the contribution of the mosque. If we all took it for granted before, we have to admit it. And even if it was close to our house and we didn't really maybe frequent it that much. And then the moment that they said you cannot go there anymore, we realized the pain and the importance that the mosque played. So I want to then link the two. Okay, I want to link the two themes: the theme of the conference, the summit itself, and the theme of what I'm going to be talking about, which is the mosque. So um, my screen is on here. I want to minimize this. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the place where I work, the Minartain Center, because it is a very good example of you could call it the new mosque, it's a rebranded. So a lot of you used to know it as the Education City Mosque. Now it's the Minartain Center, and I can tell you why that happened as well. And then I'll give you archetypes of past and present, what has happened in terms of mosques. Then we're going to go into the actual crux of remasking our communities and what that involves. So the Minartain Center that I work with, which basically is now the umbrella for the Education City Mosque being the physical space, but the Minartain Center being the team that leads it, like I said, because it makes it easier for me to tell someone that I'm not the imam or the muaddin. And that actually is the point. A mosque shouldn't just have a muaddin and an imam. The mosque today, as it is a reflection and a mirror of the society that it's in, or the community that is around it. So the mosque should basically have all represented. There should be a nurse, there should be a psychiatrist or a psychologist, there should be a marriage counselor, there should be a teacher, there should be, all of these members of valuable members of our community need to be in a mosque and work with the mosque, and not just necessarily the 2 or the 3 who are paid to lead the prayers or to call the adhan. So, and that's another thing that kind of made me realize that was a light bulb moment when I heard Sheikh Omar Sulaiman talk about what Re-Mosque was, because I knew there was an issue, I knew there was a problem, but I didn't know what the term was. Okay, so the Minartain Center, working under the Community Development Division, we are one of the leading focus community centers, because that's what mosques really are, right? They're the community centers. When you think about the first mosque, the Prophet ﷺ, when he arrived into Medina, the first thing he did was to think about the community. We need to identify the place where we're going to be building the mosque. And then thereon, he was going to build his house close to it. So it was about the community first. And then after they built the mosque, then they set the principles, the norms for how that community was going to interact. The Constitution of Medina, or Pax Islamica, if you also know it as that term. So we want to be one of those community centers. And the mission is basically, it's a place where you are nourished, cultivated, spiritually growing, ethically you're getting the moral building blocks, and you're forming that interlink with the other members of society, because everyone has something to offer. Like the ayah 13 in Surah Hujurat, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, we have created you from a male and a female, and we made you to different peoples and different tribes so that you may know one another. That knowing one another is every single person has the piece of the puzzle that you're looking for. So when everybody brings their pieces of the puzzle together, then you get the full picture. Okay, one piece of the puzzle missing, you will have the image, but it's not complete, because that little hole right there. And for people who are playing into playing puzzles, that is your biggest. That's going to determine everything for you, because it's like it's not complete. There's that one piece that's missing. So. So like I said, it's a place of learning. And of course, being an education city, part of Qatar Foundation, it's all about unlocking the human potential and lifelong learning. So guiding principles may be very similar to the themes of the summit, the ta'aruf, the ta'awun, and the tarahum. So you can see here that it's now not only a physical space, but a spiritual space, but a space nonetheless that does knowledge sharing and dissemination. You come and you learn, but you also come and you share. And then dialogue, because people have to meet in order to be able to talk, and a gathering place. The gathering place makes it easy because, that's where, again, it increases the chances of like a catalyst. It increases the chances and the frequency of the interactions, right? The more you see a person, it's almost like putting your thumb on the community's pulse. The more you go to the mosque, the more people know you. When you go to a new country and you go to a mosque, if the people, they have regulars in that community, then they will know that you are not a regular and that you're a stranger because they haven't seen you before. So it's a place then that gathers people. So mosque archetypes, if we know it, like I mentioned, the first mosques in Medina, Masjid Quba, and then the Prophet ﷺ's mosque, Masjid Nabawi. Then we have, the holy sanctuary in Mecca. But you have other mosques that have played a very, very prominent figure in Islamic history. And they show you what we're talking about, is that they were not just a place for prayer. They were more than a place for prayer. So we know Al-Qarawiyyin, for example, in Fes in Morocco, one of the oldest institutions of learning, Al-Azhar in Egypt, and Al-Zaytun in Tunisia. These three right here basically are part of our heritage as, some of the oldest institutions of learning, but they were a combined mosque university complex. And like I said, it allowed for people to come and that spiritual development to happen. And they still exist today and continue to grant educational degrees. So then you have some modern mosques, Çamlıca, for example, in Turkey. I was there in December. I mean, massive structure. I mean, the scale, mashallah, but it's not just a mosque. It's a place where people gather. You come there and you can spend the whole day there. It's overlooking the city, the art gallery, the large conference hall, the Islamic museum, the library, the workshops, and so many different things. And then again, the space that allows for a lot of people to come, and it becomes a landmark. For example, in the UK, in the East London Mosque, which was like a small little, mosque, and then the capacity overflow was out in the streets, and eventually it became, look, you can see that four different complexes: the London Muslim Center, the Mariam School Center, which is like a shelter for women and children, and then you have the Islamic school in the back and the mosque. So it became a big community. The city basically, or in terms of like the Muslim presence, now starts to expand from here. And then, for example, in Singapore, when you want to talk about modern and still incorporating a lot of the new tools of the age, right? You have a modern multifunctional mosque that does religious education, but also brings the family together because it's like the neighborhood social development center. It has a visitor center that teaches people about Islam. It's called the Harmony Center. And you can even see there, like one of the shapes of it is like the mosque, the architecture of it. The architecture, Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad once said in a conference that building a beautiful mosque is by itself da'wah, is itself calling people to Islam, because we know that everyone is attracted by the aesthetics and we love seeing something beautiful. So you can see there, it's like the form of the Kaaba, okay? And people can still go there to get information and services. Now, of course, how can I talk about all of these mosques and then forget the Education City Mosque, which I'm working with. So you can see this spaceshipy looking building, this architecture that pushes the boundaries, but that's become a tourist destination. That's become a landmark, but is melding now and taking old and new Islamic heritage, Islamic architecture, calligraphy, and putting all of that and blending it with the community for the purpose of that community, but to serve even larger than that community. It becomes a hub for knowledge, a hub for inquiry, a hub for the community to interact. I mean, I always thought that a mosque needed to do some things that, for the sake of inclusion. And I came to this mosque and I found that they had sign language interpretation, simultaneous interpretation for people who don't understand the Arabic, and calligraphy workshops. You want to learn ceramics, you can do that. You wanted to see an exhibition, you could see that. It was a place where it was gathering people, and that allows for a lot of thoughts and a lot of different cultures to meet. So if you haven't visited, please do. And it's a gathering place for all. In a summary, it's a spiritual home, it's a source of knowledge, and it's a serene atmosphere. And you need these things in a mosque so that you know you belong, or you know that you feel. You can come there then, and then these are the 4 essentials, and then you can make it your space by the people that you meet, by the circles that you sit with, like the different study circles. In Medina, for example, in the Grand Mosque, after the prayers, you have all of these study circles. One circle could be about just fiqh, another circle could be about astronomy, and another one could be about, the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ or hadith. So now let's come to remasking our communities, which is what I want to talk about. And like I said, this term that I heard Sheikh Umar Sulaiman in one of his videos mentioning, remasking our communities is in a way the solution to the problem. And the problem was our mosques were being unmosqued. And this is what I'm saying, that I had that was a light bulb moment for me, because I hadn't heard of unmasking. What is unmasking? Okay, so remember the 3 themes of the summit, and now look at what the formula is that a mosque is the community. The mosque is not the physical structure itself, but the community that represents and makes up that that mosque, or worships at that mosque. So it should be as vibrant then and diverse as the community that it happens to be in. And the unmasking means that people just go out to the mosque and pray and then leave. The community activities, the community interactions are not happening. People just go and pray. That's one of the problems. The other unmasking problem is that you don't see a lot of sisters. It's become like a male-dominated area, and also elderly males, right? That was the third problem. The third problem is that you don't see youth. If the youth don't have a space or a soapbox to stand on in the mosque for their voice to be heard, then who's going to kind of actually make the change in the society? I mean, if we look at the history of the prophets, Sayyidina Ibrahim as an example in the Quran, when he was a young man and when he was an older man, when you are asking for change to be made, you need the young people. You need them to be the spearhead. You want them to kind of make that frontal assault. They have the energy. And then when you want to now stabilize the situation, you've made a change, but you want to stabilize it. This is where you need the wisdom that comes with age, and this is where we need a mix of the two. And a lot of our mosques are missing that essential youth element. So, like I said, the solution then is to remosque, and remasking means to basically reposition the mosque in the center of our communities, to reposition our communities around the mosque, and to reposition ourselves as active members of the community, because the community or the mosque itself is not gonna get the work done. So like I said, I loved that when I was growing up in the States, you had doctors, whenever they finished their shift, they would come to the mosque, not just to pray, but then to also offer their services to anybody who walked into that mosque to get treated, to get their blood pressure checked, if they had diabetes, to kind of talk to them about it. So that's what we need to do. We need to then step into the mosque, and then, like I said, make it a space where we are, giving back to the community. So you're repurposing, you're restoring, you're renewing, you're reviving, you're rekindling, you're recreating and regenerating that community that we speak of. And like I said, why is a mosque more than a place of prayer? Like I said, because it is not the physical structure itself. It is the spiritual space where cultivation happens, where contributions happen, where people are giving and taking. And can we get the youth to commit to certain things about improving their communities through the mosque? Of course, certainly, we need to, but the youth actually have to be the ones, especially if they've realized anything in this COVID era, is that in the post-COVID era, there shouldn't be alone time. You've had enough alone time during this period right here to realize that you actually need others and others need you, right? So I'm reminded of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that talks about the 7 who are shaded on the Day of Judgment under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you look at point number 2 and point number 3 and point number 4, right, is that it's a youth who grows up in the worship of Allah. That can happen in the mosque, okay? A man whose heart is attached to the mosque, again, and 2 people, men or women, right, who brothers in faith who love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they meet for that. Where can they meet? They can probably meet at the mosque if that's their community, and then part upon that love. Those 3 points right there, I think, give us already, part of the solution of how we can recommit as young people. Be committed and growing up in the worship of Allah, right? Having that love ingrained, right? It's not about fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's about loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And then having your heart attached to the mosque, and then having, meeting other people in that mosque that you can say, these are people who are coming to the mosque. They give up their time of the day to reconnect with their creator. They're people that I need to keep in my company because we're all going in the same direction. Okay. It's almost like when you're praying, you're all praying in the same direction. Of course, you have the imam in the front row, and then you have the back row. And then if anything happens to the imam and he steps aside, then you have someone from the back row who's willing, ready, and able to kind of step in. So I always keep on pressing this, and it's not moving forward. And the thing about our community and the spirit of community and how it's embedded in our Islamic tradition, right? If you think about the sermon of the Prophet ﷺ, his last sermon, Khutbah al-Wada', where the Prophet ﷺ says that all of you come from Adam and Eve. The same, like we said in Surah Al-Hujurat, we made you from a man and a woman. We created you from a male and a female, and then made you into different peoples and different tribes. So then the Prophet ﷺ stressing in his last sermon that there's no superiority then amongst yourselves. No superiority of Arab over non-Arab, black over white, except for this piety, this taqwa, and good action. And good action, what you are actually doing. And this good action is not just for yourself. Yes, it's good to start with yourself. Charity starts at home, but it's what you do for others that is much memorable, right? It's what you do for others. In other words, the actions that you do and your contributions to the community, those are the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be using as the standard to kind of but otherwise in our own communities, when we're looking at each other, we all have something to give, and we all have that dignity that was imbued in the human being. So I want to share with you some stories, because like I said, it's an opportunity for young people, especially today, with all the tools that you have to make your own, to make your mark, but to kind of be that spearhead. You got to do it yourself. No one's going to do it for you. But once you do it and other people see you doing it, then that's when like I said, the wise elderly will come and support, and the ones with the connections can come and support, the ones with the funds can come and support, but you must have taken that first step. I don't want to give a story. There's so many stories that I'm thinking of right now, but I want to just give you a couple. So for example, Journey with the Prophets is a community exercise that we've been doing now with the Education City Mosque for close to 3 years. We started in March 2018. Now it's April 2021. And it's a community that's got students in it, moms and dads, their kids, ambassadors, diplomats, people come and go, but it's a community. And now, even though some people have left the country, they're still able to, with the Zoom, because we're not meeting physically, to call in and to participate. And what is this? It was just a community exercise that was done by a man who is probably one of the busiest men that I can think of, because he was at the top of his field, a medical surgeon at Sidra Hospital, okay? But he felt that he needs to do something. He used to do it in the UK. He needs to do something to be part of the community. He needs to feel like he's not just here doing his job, getting his salary, but he needed to contribute. And I love how he states this. He says that what I'm doing here is actually more beneficial for me than it is for the people, even though he's the one teaching or running the sessions. And he says, this is my form, this is my way of paying zakat on the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with. This is my form of paying zakat on the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with. Which means that yes, even though he's busy, but that's for his dunya, what he's doing and getting the salary and treating people. Well, this was the one thing that he thought he was contributing at a mosque, to feel, first of all, part of that community, but also to allow a community to grow, and what he was doing and investing for his akhirah. And now that he's left, he's gone back to his country, this circle is still continuing, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. I mean, literally, this man, I would call him sometimes and say, hey, we're about to start. And I can hear the water running. He's like, oh, I'm washing my hands. I just finished surgery and I'm on my way. I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? Call and say, I'm canceling. Call and say, I can't do it. You're a doctor. Everybody understands. But no, he was committed, and this was his contribution to the community. So I think everybody can do it. If someone like that who's really busy can do it, I think all of us, we don't really have excuses. I want to talk to you about Ramadan Roundup with Ilyas and Duck. Maybe it's a bit of a plug-in as well, because it's Ramadan. It's a program that I'm working on for kids this Ramadan, and it's an actual animation that we're making, and I do some of the voices, some of the characters. But it happened because of the people that I met at the mosque. I met a brother at the mosque who was an author of a children's book, stories, Islamic books, or Islamic characters. The stories are universal, but Islamic characters. And boy's name is Elias and Duck. And he had just come from America, and we met at the mosque, and we started talking. And then all of a sudden, we started brainstorming together. You have a really nice concept that you've come up with here that could be a vehicle for something even bigger and better for the community, because the community is hungry for Islamic content, especially for their children. And then those conversations went into like just late night meetings, coffee house meetings, etc., until it became what it is today. And now it's an animation that's being, 30 episodes that's being run in Ramadan. And we're getting some good feedback from a lot of parents who are watching it, because it's not just about watching, but it's actually having the activities for the children to do to help learn some of these moral building blocks that we're talking about. You want to start young, right? You want to start early, and you want to get them early to kind of share the knowledge. Another story I want to share really quickly, and this will probably be my last one, is through Dr. Evren. And this opportunity came, but again, through Dr. Evren, and because of my relationship with the mosque, because of my job at the mosque, Dr. Evren nominated me to be someone who would test run the first, prototype of something called Sajda, the world's first smart prayer rug for Muslims, especially very useful for new Muslims. And this was part of the, Qatar QF, the show, what is it called again? I'm forgetting the name.
Stars of Science?
Stars of Science. Thank you very much. Stars of Science. And basically, again, part of QF, one of 10 years now running, if not more, and at QSTP. And I got to go there and try this. And now it's actually out in the market. And when I see it, I'm so proud, because this is a young man who's an engineer who decided that his contribution to the community, to all over the world, all the entire ummah, was to use his knowledge to try and build something that would simplify their lives when they were performing their worship. What an amazing inspirational story. What an amazing person to kind of like say, this is what I want to do. So his focus or the priority was not, I want to invent something that can make money. I want to invent something that can facilitate, this very essential part of, Muslims' lives, which is prayer, this pillar of Islam. And I was very honored to have, participated in that. And this was the rough draft. Back then the prototype is heavy, and now you look at it, it's foldable, and the screen can be tilted, and it can recite different, in different forms of recitation for someone to be able to hear and learn and stand there and pray. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. And how much, is this man, getting in terms of hasanat, in terms of good deeds? And this is just what he says is my small contribution. So we all have a contribution to make. And if anything, if we've realized this ta'aruf, ta'awun, and tarahum, is that the tarahum is the compassion. You have to have the compassion. Then you need to do the ta'awun. If you don't have the skill, try to collaborate and cooperate with someone else who can. And you can meet that person in the mosque, but you have to talk to people. You can't just go pray and leave, right? And then the more you work with that person, that becomes a bond, that becomes ta'aruf. You really now know this person. This person can vouch for you, and you can vouch for them. So that's basically just what I wanted to share. I want to open it up to any questions, comments, clarifications, corrections. And thank you very much for your time. I hope I was able to shed a little bit of light on some of what we're working on at the mosque, but also some of what you can do as young people, inshallah, as soon as this pandemic is over, so that, you don't waste any time and you hit the ground running. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
MashaAllah, that was incredible. Thank you so much. A lot of cool information there, and fun stories that you shared. And this is exactly why we have the Ramadan Summit, so that you can all take these stories, be inspired, and do something for yourselves, or contribute to your societies for yourselves. So I guess we can open it up to questions. I have a couple of my own, but we'll see the audience first. We have a comment here from, we have a few comments. Okay, first one, Dr. Eugenie Samier. She said, "Dear Sulaiman, first I would like to say that is a brilliant presentation, and the ideas, etc., convey very well. I do have a question about mosque community in multicultural environments. I'm from Canada, and what serves as bridges to other communities. Right now, I'm investigating the shared humanistic traditions and values as possible bridges for learning, managing, leading, etc. Can you comment on this approach?"
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Eugenie. I think we've met before. I've had the pleasure of meeting her before when Dr. Evan brought her for an event, if I'm not, peace education.
Oh, yeah. I was listening to your voice, and it sounded so familiar. So I think we did meet in Doha, didn't we, at the university?
Yes,
Oh, cool. Yeah. So, um, anyway, I just want to say salam alaikum and shukran for what you've just done. It actually makes me feel good about fasting right now.
Walaikum salam. Thank you very much, Dr. Eugenie.
So
your question, if you can maybe simplify it for me a little bit. I ceased to become an academic.
Well, I think because I grew up in Canada under strict multiculturalism, my family we were embedded in very diverse communities from all religions and everything. And so I grew up celebrating other people's traditions with them. And that was sort of the ideal in Canada. But that requires that you have something, a shared bond, a shared set of values that you can work with and speak to each other through, and you can feel a common humanity. I think that's what I'm after. So in the writing I'm doing in public admin and ed admin, I'm trying to build more of that bridge so that the knowledge and, can go both directions. And it just seems, in going back through a lot of the sort of intellectual history, that that humanism seems to serve fairly well if it would be used properly. But when I compare, for example, German humanism, which was heavily influenced by Ibn Rushd, Ibn Sina, the hermeneutic tradition, that's what you're taught as a German, is that it all comes from the Middle East anyway, so you feel a connection there. And so that's what I'm working on, is going through the different humanistic traditions to provide that common set of values and codes and principles to allow for the exchange of knowledge, building community, feeling close to each other. Is as more than just neighbors, but more like family, brothers and sisters.
And humanity, definitely.
To me, that so that's what I've been looking at for 2-3 years now, is exploring that as the bridge. I've talked with the Catholic theologian Hans Kung about this, and this is how he's approached it as well, that the shared humanism gives us that bridge.
I agree with you. I mean, without going into, I guess, the different explanations or theories for humanism, I just want to, because now, like I said, I've really kind of stepped out of the realm of academia in a way, and I am working directly with the community. So I get to see the needs of the community and get to hear it directly from them. And this is exactly what, anybody who's working at a mosque, or anybody who feels that they have something to contribute, should be able to do. Identify a need at the mosque. The mosque is just a venue in a way at that point. And then, for the dialogue to happen and for the need to be assessed or to be identified. And then if you know how to contribute to that, to kind of still use the mosque as a way to contribute, because you see one case, maybe that's just the only case you heard. There might be multiple. I want to give you 2 stories really quickly that I can think of. One that I heard of is, if you had a person, 2 or 3 people who didn't speak each other's languages. Let's try to take as far of the spectrum, ends of the spectrum as possible. Someone maybe from China and someone who speaks Quechua, for example, in Peru or something like that. And they were in a room. And then as soon they can't communicate, apart maybe from just trying to smile at each other. And then as soon as they see fire, they're both going to try and run and try to help each other to either the door or the window or something like that. They didn't necessarily need a common language. Their humanity already unified them. And this is exactly it. In that the dignity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in the human being, the creation, gave us that sense of we are all interrelated. And then especially that we come from the first creation, the first man, Sayyidina Adam, and Sayyidina Hawa. So we are all being offsprings of those two, alayhim salam. So that's the first thing. The second story that I can think of is how miracles happen today, and we don't call them miracles, but they're happening because they're not just stories that happened in the past. How in a mosque someone can see you and actually, without you speaking, and maybe identify your need. And I heard 2 stories that really moved me. One was a man either told by the man to me, I'm forgetting now, I'm getting old, excuse me, or by a friend of the man's who was sitting in the Masjid al-Nabawi, okay, in Medina. And really, he was down on his luck. He was down on his luck. And he was there in the Rawda, which is the inner circle of the Holy Mosque, of the Prophet ﷺ's mosque, and he was there and he was raising his hands in prayer. And he said, God, I'm down on my luck, and anything that I can get right now would be appreciated, would be good, would help me out. Someone walking by, someone who had finished his prayer walking by, and when I say someone, it's a lot of people walking by after the prayers to leave, if you've been to the Rawda. Just a wad of money just in his pocket. By the time he realized that something was in his pocket and turned around, he can't identify who it was because the man has blended in with the rest of the crowd that's leaving. So, I mean, if that's not a miracle, and that's not a human being feeling another human being's pain, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helping, another human being, another of his servants through human beings, then I don't know what is. And once I heard Archbishop Desmond Tutu say, if a homeless man was, again, down on his luck and praying and saying, God, please, I'm hungry, give me a burger. It's not a plate of burgers that's going to come from the sky to him. It's another person. Allah's going to put compassion in another person's heart, who's going to see this person and know that they're down on their luck and bring them the burger and say, brother, here, this is for you, kindly. So that's the way I see it. The other story, and this one really happened recently. I'm not going to say the name of the country, a Sudanese gentleman who was in a mosque and going all the time to pray, especially Isha, and he prays with other people. So they know each other by face, but they haven't really had the chance to talk. And when one of his daughters in her own, in Sudan, actually started, she had a tumor develop in the back of her eye, and then she started going blind because it was pressing on her optical nerves. And, and so one time when he came to pray Isha, he prayed and he finished, and a man approached him and said, brother, Assalamu alaikum, how are you? You don't look great. Is something bothering you? This is a person who's been praying with him for a long time, but they've never talked before. And the man said, yes, wallah, to be honest with you, my daughter, she's, I think, losing her eyesight, but I don't even know. It's like a tumor or something in the back of her head. They're saying she's going to go blind, and we don't even know if it's cancerous. The man said, can you bring her here to this country? Can you bring her here? And he's like, yes, I can. I can ask my wife or someone to, he's like, why? He's like, okay, just bring her here. If you can, by the end of this week, on Thursday, can you come to this hospital and, just go there and, inshallah, don't worry. Inshallah, everything will be okay. He just said that. He didn't even introduce, he didn't even say. He said, you know someone there? Because that's a really, really big hospital, super busy. You know someone there? He said, just come over there on Thursday. If you can bring your daughter in the next 2 days on Thursday, and in the meantime, here's my number. Just send me if you have any files or anything, scans that they've done initially. So the man did that, bought a ticket. The daughter came in 2 days. That Thursday, they went to the hospital. They went to the ward, to the unit that is dealing for neurological, issues. And they said, we're here. And they said, yes, the doctor is waiting for you. And guess what? The head of that entire unit is this man that he used to pray with. One of the best surgeons in the world, because it's a specialist hospital for this specific, thing. And he just kind of, normally where you need an appointment 2 months beforehand, whatever, he just took the daughter, went into the operating room, they did the operation, and the daughter, this Sudanese man does not know what to say to this man. He did not know that this man that he's been praying with, seeing him at Isha, is a head of one of the top surgeons and the head of a neurological unit in a specialist hospital. You know what I mean? So this is what happens when our hearts are attached to the mosque, but not just the mosque, not the physical structure, the community, the people that are in that mosque. They are us and we are them. So just those two stories I wanted to share.
I don't want to take more of your time in this session, but I really would like to talk to you about 2 or 3 ideas later on. Would it be okay if everyone set up a connection so that we could chat about some of these?
Inshallah, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. And another thing that we do at the Education City Mosque, and this is what I really, really love about my job, to be honest with you, is this. I do tours for the mosque because it's like I showed you, it's an iconic structure. It's won the World Architecture Festival Prize for Best Religious Building in 2015. The British, Royal Institute of British Architects recognized it in 2016. The American Architecture Prize in 2017. It's a building that, just like I said, pushes the envelope. It does not look like your traditional mosque, yet still maintains a lot of the traditional elements of what you would find in a mosque. And the people that come to the mosque are the ones who are actually supposed to give that building color. Okay, so, and I get to meet so many amazing people when I give tours, whether it's kids, kindergarten, schools. Recently had the Minister of Interior of Ukraine come by, and the conversations that happen is this ta'aruf, this now, what is your culture and what is my culture and what does Islam say and what does your faith say? And we have a bit of an exchange. And this is really one of the best ways of also establishing, these commonalities that we have. And that really, yes, it's an Islamic message, and in this day and age, as you know, it's, being almost positioned as a foreign thing, it is a universal message. It's a universal, values that we all have and we all do. And maybe the if we stop putting labels on things and we stop saying Islamic finance, we stop saying Islamic this, Islamic that, maybe it would be better, because what you're doing is Islamic. If you're doing something that is good, that's already considered worship. Even if you're sleeping, it's considered worship because you are following the path, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kind of set for you. It's permissible. So, and anything that betters the society that you're in, contributes to the people that you're with, is good for you. There's a, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's a hadith, Allah is in the service of a servant as long as that servant is in the service of others. So the more you do for others, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do for you.
Yes. I'll turn my mic off now so someone else can ask a question. Thank you very much. And we'll just connect a bit later if that's possible. Thank you.
Inshallah, you shared some more inspirational stories there. You sneaked them in. I like that. So I guess we'll move on to our next question. We'll change it up a bit. This time we'll have someone ask. So Takang, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Oh, hello, Bah. Nice
Yes,
one from you. Before I ask my question, a friend of mine just reached out to me when I had to put your stuff on Instagram, like it's going on, and he was asking me, is Sulaiman Bah from the Gambia? So I don't know what to say. I don't know where you're coming from.
Maybe that was left out of my bio, but I'm of West African roots, yes. But whether you want to call it the Gambia, I don't really want to put those boxes, because those were things that were created by colonialists. I don't really adhere to those. I have family in all of West Africa, so my family roots, the biggest, I would say, contingent would be in Guinea and Sierra Leone.
Okay.
I have family in Gambia and have family in Mali and Senegal, and so yeah, I'm Fulani, Fulani American, Sierra Leonean, Guinean American, if you want to call it that. But I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia, so I consider myself a citizen of the world, to be honest with you. But in terms of my family roots and my ethnicity, yes, I'm Fulani. And the Fulani people, as you know, are nomadic, and they're spread out from Mauritania all the way to Sudan. And
Yeah, sure.
So yes,
okay.
I have
Thanks
family
very
in Gambia, and I speak Fulani. And if you want to speak to me, I'm Fulani later on.
Yeah, thanks very much for that geographical clarification. That's great. Probably I have two questions for you. I'm going to make it very fast. The first question which I have for you is, with the Arab Spring, a lot of countries got probably deep into kind of civil wars, and a lot more of mosque and some good cultural sites which belongs to Muslims, which are very precious, being targeted. So how do we try to reconcile this, despite the fact that they might be fighting, but they shouldn't touch this mosque, which can provide those services in which you are probably enumerated? How do we go from here? What do we do to probably
stop those? What do we do to stop those places from being desecrated and demolished? Or what?
Yes. And secondly, sorry, I just have to ask this question. You said that you probably left academics. You are international relations. I for one. There's this very controversial book which was written by Samuel Huntington. I'm sure you know him so well. The Clash of Civilization, which talks about people's cultural and religious identities being probably the next angle of war between states, probably keeping aside economic and political jingoism. I want to find out from you, how do we reconcile this issue so we don't have this next war among states based on cultural and religious differentiation, because civilization is supposed to unite humanity, not to probably divide.
Civilization is a product of humanity, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe your second question is easier to answer first. I'll say that there are always going to be people trying to divide us. But that's, and again, if you want to go to the spiritual realm, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Sayyidina Adam, first the first creation, that, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala imbued him with dignity and knowledge, and that's what elevated the human being over all other creation. The angels said, will you put a creation on earth that's going to sow chaos and shed blood? And Allah says, I know what you do not. So Allah has this trust and hope in us that we are the right vicegerent, the right deputy, to be able to run this earth. That does not mean that Shaitan or Iblis or Satan was not there with his jealousy. He was from day one, and he didn't. And because of this enmity, I'm different, I'm better than him. That was the first sin. That's the biggest problem. So for anybody who's following those footsteps and trying to divide us, then they're really following those footsteps of trying to divide. But already our humanity unites us. The dignity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us is not something that's man-given, it's God-given. Then you don't need anyone else to kind of tell you that you need that to bring us together. We already are together. Like I said, we feel hunger, we cry, all of these things, all of these emotions, all of these shared experiences. What else do we need? But the sermon of the Prophet ﷺ, all of you came from Adam and Eve, so why do you think that you're better than another? In Surah Al-Hujurat, actually Surah Al-Hujurat is also known as it has a lot of ethical values about how to live together in a community. It says, do not call each other by mean nicknames, even mean nicknames, because you don't know. It might be something small for you. It might be something big for someone else. Do not backbite each other. And it says that backbiting each other is akin to eating the flesh of your own brother, because it's something you're taking their good reputation, or you're taking their reputation which you cannot put back. And then once that news spreads, now we know social media, it's like wildfire. It's going to be, sorry, I've already spread it and shared it. Let me see if I can take it back. Too late. So we're going to have those dissenters, but I think the key is, if you look at the first verse that was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, it's Iqra, education, education, education. This is the message of Islam. You need to learn about your creator, then you learn about yourself, and then you learn about others, and then once you see that, you'll see that it's one straight line. It's, and your purpose on earth, try to discover what that is. That's why we're trying to learn. So the only difference, as the Prophet ﷺ said in that last sermon, is by taqwa and good action. The ones who actually do good action. What are you doing and contributing for others? And as we know, when we're all gonna one day say goodbye and leave, but those who have left us a long time ago are still living, their memory is still living because of the actions that they've done, the legacy that they left behind. So, do you want to be remembered as a person who was dividing people, or do you want to be remembered as someone who actually gave and contributed, to people? That's civilization.
Okay, great. So that was a great question.
What about the first one?
No, I answered your second one first, and then I answered the first one last.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, the second one was easier.
What was I gonna say? Right, so it's already 2:56, but we're having such an interesting discussion. So if it's okay, we're just gonna answer 2 more questions so that we might go over time. So we'll answer Alina's question from the chat first, and then we'll have Qamar ask her question after that. So Alina brought up a very good point. She said, love the presentation. And she talked about the Bong Mosque she visited in Pakistan, which won an award, and it made its mark in the world. But now the manager of the mosque shared his concern that nowadays mosques with a modern architecture are losing the true essence and purpose because it's attracting tourists more as opposed to worshipers. So I guess, what do you have to say about that? What do you think about that?
Like I said, our mosque is attracting people, but if that's an entry point into people's hearts, like Dr. Tim Winters or Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad said, building a beautiful mosque is by itself da'wah. It calls people. Inna Allah jamilun yuhibbul jamal. Allah is beautiful and loves beauty. All that is beauty. This is part of ihsan, doing the best job that you can do. And the one beautiful thing about mosques, yes, we're told how to pray. That's very clearly, mentioned. But nothing was mentioned about what a mosque should look like. So why not? And actually that's the beautiful thing about when you travel the Muslim world, you start to see, one of the things I love the most about traveling, and I'm a foodie, but I love traveling as well, right? Basically to visit a mosque to see how that mosque is built and what the people in that community look like. And like I said, usually if you do, and you go to mosques that are, have regulars, you'll see they'll start coming to you because they'll welcome you. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Are you visiting? Are you new? Are you living in the neighborhood? Because you're, they've identified you as being a new addition to the community and they want to welcome you. So, you'll see that they're built differently, from pagoda style looking mosques, in Malaysia, China, to, the ones in India with the onion domes, all the way to the ones that, the Maghreb style in Andalusia and in, North Africa, to like a lot of new mosques now in Europe that are built very, very creatively, very beautiful designs, as community spaces, and in the States as well. So, and that's what I'm saying. And that should be the case actually, so that it meets the needs of the community, it meets the needs of the community. So I see nothing wrong with that, but we have to not only take care of the old, because we have a rich heritage, right? I mean, I get sad when I go to some countries and I see like a mosque that is really, really old and, completely, just falling apart. And, one thing that I've seen and I appreciate about, America and the West, for example, a short history of 200 and some odd years, but very good at keeping that history, very good at protecting it. Even if it was just the house that, Martin Luther King was born in, like in the, 1920s or 30s. And all of a sudden that's a national heritage site and it's well preserved and it's well taken care of. So you got to take care of the old. And then when you build the new, you have to kind of also put into consideration that, the new in a way owes a lot to the old, So when you go to the Education City Mosque, for example, when I give the tours, I tell them, you can see it's very new, but how does a new building pay homage to old architecture, to the legacy, right? When you go into that building, you'll see 99 relief panels spread out on different floors, highlighting Islamic architecture in different parts of the Muslim world. And this is how your new building, but paying respect to your older brothers and sisters and saying, they're all around the world. Look at the beauty, look at the diversity. So I think that that's what we need to do.
Yeah. Nisa also commented on this and she said, the problem, this was before you answered, but I guess you're on the same level. The problem probably doesn't lie in the architecture of the masajid. After all, beauty in all forms is embraced in Islam. Rather, there should be more effort to introduce and support social initiatives targeted towards the Muslim community. So I think you both agree on that.
Like I said, and you need to, inclusion is very important. This is what every mosque needs to do, old and new, to be able to be on the same standard. Inclusion. You need to have services there, or like, facilities, especially with the technology, to make it easy for our brothers and sisters with special abilities, for example, you know what I mean? So the more you can do that, the more you're really building to the ihsan. And I love that Sheikh Umar Sulaiman started that organization called Muhsin, Muslims Understanding and Helping, what is it? Muslims Understanding and Helping with Special Needs, if I'm not mistaken, Muhsin, so that is an organization that's now trying to go around, or you can kind of send them your documents and as a mosque or as a center, but you will get certified by them as, having facilities that really take into consideration all the segments of the society and, all the needs. So, so I think we need to do more of that. And then the more interpretation you can have in a mosque, that was made evident to me. And I had never thought about this before, again, until I met my friend, I haven't seen him in a long time now, Nashiru Abdullahi, a brother from Ghana who used to hear and lost his hearing. And then he organized a conference, and it was the first of its kind in DC, called GDM, Global Deaf Muslims. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that I could be sitting in a khutbah and the person next to me doesn't understand or doesn't hear what's going on. That's when it came to my realization. And I tell you, when I went to that conference, I felt like I was the one left out, because everybody was signing, and because they were there, and they either they were they knew how to sign already, or they learned it, or they grew up in a family with signing, so they knew it. And I didn't know how to sign, so every time I needed to introduce myself, I had pen and paper. My name's Sulaiman. So I felt so left out, and I knew what they feel like when they come to the mosque, and then the khutbah is being read, and they don't, that's not being made available to them. So like I said, I was super excited, very proud that the Education City Mosque has sign language interpretation for the Jummah khutbahs, has the headsets for the simultaneous interpretation in English and Urdu, and we can cover more languages, but depends on the community's needs and what they ask for.
Yeah. I also work in the Education City Mosque building with you. I mean, we know each other. So when I first started there, I felt so lucky because I'm working in this place that has such an amazing mosque, and it feels so like the perfect word for this is sakina in the place. I'm not sure how to translate that, but like
serene
peaceful
atmosphere. Remember the slide? They said a serene atmosphere.
Oh, well, there you go. Yes, that's what it feels like working there. I mean, not anymore because Corona, we're working from home, but okay, so we'll take the last question from Qamar Abu Hawash. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you, Ramadan Kareem?
Hello.
Doctor, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that you traveled a lot and what?
I'm not a doctor. Brother Sulaiman.
Okay. You traveled a lot. Have you been to Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa? Have you been there? And I want to ask you how you felt if you went there. How you felt? Also, I have another question. You mentioned that mosques are being gender oriented towards males. How can we encourage more females to go to the mosques? Usually before COVID-19, I used to go in order to pray Taraweeh only. But after this session, I'm sure that I must go, inshallah, after Corona ends. So how can we encourage more girls to go to the mosques? Thank you.
This is very good. Thank you very much. So the first question is, I haven't been, and it's a dream and it's a hope. I was very fortunate to have been born and raised in Saudi Arabia. So I've already seen the two holiest places in Islam, Mecca and Medina. I was born in Medina. And my fervent wish and prayer is to be able to pray also at the third holiest place, inshallah, in Masjid al-Aqsa. And we pray that that happens in peaceful conditions and where all Muslims can access that. The question about sisters in the mosque, I think is a very, very valid. It's what I said is that the mosque has become a male-dominated area, maybe because the males go, but there's nothing that says that the females and sisters can't go. So it's and I think one example that I've seen is that you need to, like I said, you need to be the spearhead. You need to find a couple of people who will be with you to kind of do that. So my one advice, whether it's about this situation or another situation with young people, is be as brave as Sayyidina Ibrahim was, So when he was speaking to his dad, when he was speaking to others, and, of course, use logic, and, but still, you sometimes need to take things into your own hands, like he did when he, we know the story with the three idols, for example, right? So be smart. But one thing is, knock as many doors as possible. Knock on as many doors as possible. It's awesome. Knock on as many doors as possible. And don't worry about, am I disturbing someone? Am I waking someone? Am I, interrupting a meeting? All you want is for someone to kind of like just open the door, and then you put your foot in the door. So it becomes a doorstop. Just enough to buy yourself time to be able to kind of make your pitch. Because like I said, details, don't worry about the details, about the numbers. There's 30 of us, 40 of us, no, the percentages, etc. Details tell. It can give you more. It can paint more of a picture. But what really sells are stories. Stories sell. Tell your story, and then, you might have, a lot of doors closed in your face, but all you need is that one door to open, and then that's it, So that's my advice. The other thing I've seen as an example is that, for example, I've seen a lot of sisters, mashallah, very active at the Education City, whether at Georgetown, HBKU, living in the housing, they took it upon themselves to kind of write letters. They wrote a letter. They said, why is the male section of the mosque open, after the lockdown, and the women's center, the women's space is not. And that was good. And then they signed their names on there. And I mean, we want equality, right? I mean, or equity. At least we want equity. You want to be fair. I mean, because equality can, it's a whole nother thing too, right? So equity, you want to be fair. You want to have the same access. And in the end, it was open. I mean, they heard the voice. So the squeaky wheel gets the oil. If you're not squeaky, the wheel is not squeaky, it's not going to get the oil, right? So just you have to keep on trying. This is what life is. It teaches you how to refine your techniques so that you can do it better the next time.
Hi, sorry, someone was at my door. Anyway.
Someone heard my advice. Someone was knocking on the door and disturbing and interrupting.
SubhanAllah, SubhanAllah. This is the miracles you were talking about. They're still at my door. I have to go back. But I just wanted to say to Qamal, I've actually been to Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, and it is amazing. And if you want to see it, I did a documentary about my trip in Palestine. It's on my Instagram page. I'll put it in the chat here if you guys are interested. And speaking of contacting me, Sulaiman, anyone, Sulaiman, I'm sure a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions for you. So maybe you're going to want to put your
problems available. I mean, this is the thing. When you're with a mosque, you have to be with the community, and I would love to hear from all of you and then see how we can do this, So definitely you can put my phone number on there and my email, first of all. I think it's easier just because the phone right now is already.
What's your email? Oh, actually, maybe you can type it in the chat.
Yeah, let me type it in really quickly to everyone.
I have to get back to the person at my door, but thank you so much, Sulaiman. I feel like Dr. Evans about to put some music or something. So go ahead and enjoy that. Thank you so much, Sulaiman. That was very informative, very inspirational. And thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Take care, Bayan, and be careful about the person who came to your door. You know, these days, you never know. So, so thank you so much, dear Sulaiman. This has been so terrific. It's amazing, really. It's a great contribution, great vibes. And like yesterday, today we started with the amazing work conducted by Muslim choral ensemble from Sri Lanka. We're really grateful to this amazing colleague, Mrs. Hadia, and she has been the lead for Muslim choral ensemble, and they are very keen to work with you. They do Islamic music for peacemaking, and we already hosted them in the Ahad. They made an amazing production for us. We started today with their production. I think it happened right before you came. We ended. So there's a 17-minute long, but also we had an amazing song provided, actually done especially for Design Post-COVID Humanity by an amazing community group in Sudan, in Khartoum, called Drum Circle Sudan. It's a 4-minute song about post-COVID humanity, but in order to make a smooth closure of today, I'll just play the first 55 seconds of that song. And in the meantime, we can just relax and we can actually move to the next item in our today's agenda, inshallah. But thank you so much, everyone. Let the music on and let's enjoy.
Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Revan.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a pleasant rest of the day. Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak. Bye for it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Evan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.